You've often heard me talk about this because it weighs very heavily on me. I hear a lot of discussion about who is a Jew and who is not a Jew. Who is a real Jew as opposed to who is not a real Jew? Is a Reformed Jew a real Jew? Is a conservative Jew a real Jew? Is a modern Orthodox a real Jew? Is the Hasidim a real Jews? Who actually is a real Jew? Can you tell by the way they dress? Not really. I mean, if I were to take this off, does this no longer make me a Jew? Same person, just look a little different. Look more like I do during the week. Does this fancy talit make me a Jew? Not really. I can take it off. Perhaps it's a little easier when it's not quite this long. Am I different? Am I somehow not a Jew? What about this fancy Beggars? This what's called a Tish Beggars. Does this make me a Jew? Does the cartel that I wear on it make me a Jew? Nah, that don't make me a Jew. What about now? Am I not a Jew now? I mean, yes, I'm a little more comfortable. What is it? Is it the zitzit? Am I Marba Konfot? My Tali Katan? Yeah. That don't make me a Jew. There. All the trappings are gone. And now, just me, in shirt, bare pants. I could even take off this kippah. I won't. Out of respect for Hashem, I will not. None of this makes us a Jew. What makes us a Jew? It's what's in here. And what is in here. It is woven into our very DNA, in every cell in our body. It's called DNA memory. We all stood at a Sinai. We all heard the words of Torah. But these days, we want to separate everybody into different categories. How this ever came about, I don't understand. We have Reform Jews, we have conservative Jews, we have secular Jews, we have modern Orthodox Jews, we have Orthodox Jews, we have over 300 different Hasidic Jews, different groups of Hasidic Jews. We have Yemenite Jews, we have Mizrahi Jews, we have Egyptian Jews, we have Ethiopian Jews. There's no difference. Yeah, we wear different trappings, physical things, different kinds of things that we wear. You know, some wear an ulpan, while others wear a bekishan. Some wear a turban, some wear a shtreimel or a spodik. Some wear a black hat, some wear a green hat. I wear a green hat just to differentiate between the 6 days and the 7th day. But it's what's inside, even among the secular Jews. It's what's inside. It is inside them. That spark of being a Jew still resides in every single Jew, no matter how secular they are. Every Jew is a precious jewel to Hashem. And like every other jewel, when it comes out of the ground, it's dirty, sometimes clumped in with other things, and it has to be chiseled out, it has to be kind of broken out because it's surrounded by a lot of dirt and other kinds of minerals and stuff. But as you break it out, it still becomes a precious jewel. Now, of course, like every other jewel, it needs to be polished. It needs to be cut. It needs to cut away the flawed parts. It needs to be polished, which takes a long time. It takes a long time to polish a jewel, to bring out the inner beauty of it, or what some diamond people call the inner fire of a diamond, or an emerald, or a ruby. They don't just get like that. You don't just pull them out of the ground like that. Why should we look at other Jews that way? Why should we look at them as yeah, well, there's a piece of jewelry in there, but it's all covered up with dirt and stuff like that. And who wants to take the time? Who wants to take the time to, clear it away and, But the jewel maker knows. He can look at the clump of dirt, and he can see the precious jewel inside. He can take the jewel after it's been taken out of the dirt, and while it's still cloudy and misshapen and everything, he can look at it and he can figure out, well, if I do this and I do that and I polish it this way and I polish it that way and I take a little off here and I take a little off there, I will be a magnificent jewel. And I guess you can say Hashem is the ultimate jeweler. Of course, he is the king. And he can fashion these jewels to his desire. And every single one of them is precious to him because he has himself involved in that process. Now, we run into secular Jews all the time. We run into Reform Jews, we run into, even among the Hasidim. So one Hasidic group doesn't recognize another Hasidic group, no, they're not real Jews, stuff like that. It's ridiculous. Yeah, sure that some of them are not as observant as others. Some have different ways of observing things, but still, even if they aren't observant, there's still that spark in them. Sure, it's covered, maybe covered by a shell or covered with dirt or past sins or whatever it is, but it's still there. And we need to treat every Jew as that precious jewel that resides within, no matter how much dirt surrounds it. We are obligated. It tells us in the Torah. We read it in the prayers every day. We are obligated to do this, to bring other Jews closer to Hashem. No, that doesn't mean that you have to drag them kicking and screaming into the shul, into the study hall, into the Beit HaMidrash. You don't have to kick the door in on them. I mean, seriously, the only thing that's going to happen if you kick the door in on them is they're going to bite stronger locks. But you would be surprised how just little things can turn a Jew who is secular and maybe agnostic or even atheistic, and turn them back to Hashem. Look around the world today. It is usually at these kinds of times that we have seen today, which we haven't seen since, probably the 1920s. Anti-Semitism is now once again become an acceptable thing in the world. The world is turning into a dark place. And the only thing that lights the darkness is the light of Hashem that we bring to the world. That's what it means to be a light unto the nations. It means that we have to be that light. And even the smallest spark can cast a great deal of light in a very dark place. And every Jew has that spark in them. It doesn't matter if they're homeless, if they're begging on the street, or if they sit on the loftiest throne in the courts of the Tzaddik. Every one of them has a spark. And every spark has a purpose. Every talent that you were given is to be used as a way to bring people closer to Hashem. You would be surprised how little, sometimes how very little it takes to be able to do that. Let me give you an example. Look at this. Look at this. It's a puppet. That's all it is. A little bit of fabric sewn together, dressed up, has no life of its own, nothing to it. The only thing that makes it move is by putting my hand in the back and making it move. We used to go to a lot of Comic-Cons, Randy and I, and always took this puppet with us. And it was amazing how the children, as you would expect children, are drawn to a puppet. And especially if it's a puppet of an animal, they're always drawn to a puppet. But we were extremely surprised because that puppet can open many doors. And we were at a show once, we were at the Comic-Con once, and we got to meet a actress who was Jewish. We knew she was Jewish. Very secular. And she was, some reason, this piece of fluff and material spoke to her heart. She called us over. I knew who she was. But she wanted to talk, not to me, not to the rabbi. She wanted to talk to the puppet. And she talked to that puppet for the better part of an hour about growing up. Nothing about Hollywood. About growing up and the synagogue she went to, the Hebrew school that she went to twice a week. You know, how she was confirmed, her bat mitzvah, and how much, for some reason, it awoke a flame in her. That little spark that had been buried deeply, had been covered by a shell, covered by dirt and all the yuck of Hollywood, all of a sudden ignited into a flame. She wanted to talk about her history. She wanted to talk about her background. She wanted to talk about the synagogue. She had wonderful stories about her synagogue. And it began to make her think. And as we got up to leave, which we had a hard time doing because she just did not want that puppet to leave. But as we got up to leave, I had the puppet ask her a question. I had a very important question. May not seem like a lot to us because we do this all the time. But I had the puppet ask her, when was the last time you were in shul? And she got very serious. And she said, you know, it's been a very long time. But I think I'm going to go back. All of this from nothing more than a piece of cloth with some stuffing in it and a little imagination by a rabbi who's maybe half a bubble off plumb. But you can never tell. You can never tell what it is that's going to ignite that spark in another person's heart. Maybe it's just something as simple as saying hi or inviting. They don't even have to come, but inviting them to say, come to the shul with me, or come to Shabbos dinner with me. Or do you have some place to go for Pesach? Yes, I got someplace to go. Even though they may not. Yes, I got some. But who knows? In a week, in a month, in a year, in God's good time, that spark will reignite and it'll become a flame. With the world in the shape that it is, we need more flames. We must stop dividing ourselves into Ashkenazic and Litvish and Glitzianer and Sephardic and Mizrahi and come together as just Jews. And remember, we are not always all going to be at the same level. That there are going to be some who are like little children. They have to learn. They have to walk. They can't run yet. They have to be brought along. But if you ignite that spark, they'll have the drive. It may take them a while to get there, but they will get there. They may fall, just as we all fall. Even the greatest tzaddik in the world falls. We know this because of Rabbi Nachman of Breslov. He talked about it many times when he started to become close to God, that he fell often during the same day. Rabbi Akiva, the great Rabbi Akiva, fell from his level. Rabbi Ben Zoma, these great giants that we refer to all the time, fell at some point. Nobody is perfect. Nobody is intended to be perfect. But we can gather them together. We can pull all of them together and say, I don't care what your level of observance is. I don't care whether you wear a bekisha or an ulpan, or if you come in wearing a t-shirt. I don't care. You don't have to wear a strimal or a spolik or a black hat. You may not even have to wear a kippah. If you're a Jew, we accept you as a Jew. I have one warning. Those people who fake being a Jew in order to steal these precious jewels from the king, beware. The king does not allow this. And if you steal one of God's precious jewels from his treasure house, the consequences will be so dire you cannot even imagine it. So leave the Jews alone. Let us take care of them. As long as we remember, gather them in. Bring them in, no matter what their level is, where they're at in their life. Bring them in. Even if it's just nothing but to plant a seed in their heart that will come to flower later on, bring them in. As I've said many times, a Jew is a Jew is a Jew. That's it. There's nothing else. Everything else is just an artificial construct which means absolutely nothing in this world, and especially means nothing in the upper realms. Let's continue with our Leinu.